we're going to know exactly what the One Piece is in the next 4 to, let's say, 8 arcs. The Yonko saga was roughly 8 arcs, from Fishman Island all the way to Wano country. If you want to exclude Fishman Island, then let's say the 7 arcs, roughly speaking. But I don't think that the final saga is gonna be that much, but just in case Oda once again gets his timetables wrong, and in 2033, here we are still talking about the end of One Piece's 9.
Lovely.
This could be possible. The 4 main horses for the One Piece right now are the Strap Pirates, the Red Hair Pirates, the Blackbeard Pirates, and of course the Cross Guild. Now, how things will play out from here moving forward in the immediate future and in the distant future, that's why this video is here. So let's talk about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the 4 would-be greatest pirates, though really only 3 because Blackbeard ain't that dude. But that being said, let's get into the greatest race in shonen history, the race for the One Piece. And first of all, let's get out of the way our main protagonists, our boys, Monkey Jesus, Luffy, and the Straw Hat Pirates. Now, it's pretty obvious that they will be the ones to claim the One Piece, and Luffy will be Pirate King. I don't see Oda doing any sort of fake outs here, like let's say Blackbeard or Shanks being the Pirate King, and then Luffy and his crew have to beat them in order to become Pirate King. I don't think so, no. I think that for the most part, it's gonna be settled on Laugh Tale, or before Laugh Tale, before there is a true Pirate King confirmed. But here's the biggest question, because we know real soon there's gonna be an event on Egghead Island. We know that Kizaru, we know that double the amount of ships compared to Marineford are showing up, and of course St. J. Garcia Saturn. And I think it's very clear, super obvious, that Luffy is going to win, whereas Law and Kid lost. Because when it came to the race for the One Piece, it was always going to be the 3 major players in my mind of Shanks, Blackbeard, and Luffy. Buggy, we'll get that later. I think ultimately Luffy will win against Kizaru and Jay and whatever's going to come his way. But here is the key thing, going back to it. We do not know if we're going to reach Laugh Tale, or I guess find the One Piece and become Pirate King, before or after the final war against the world government. This is still, I think, super unclear, and it's kind of gnarly because it does dictate so much of the end game flow of the series. And you will see this point brought up time and time again in this video. Is it going to be after or before the final war that we see Luffy become king of the pirates? And there is evidence on both sides to suggest this. There is in-story evidence given the words of Whitebeard before he died, where he did say, as far as I understand it, he did say that once it was found, the treasure, it would flip the world upside down, and then it would lead to a war that Sengoku and the world government did not want to have. Though folks have claimed that there were some things that were kind of misconstrued given the translations, and it's not actually a set time frame as to if it's going to be after we find the treasure, then there's war. The time frame is more ambiguous, which leaves room for the war to happen before we find the One Piece and Luffy's King of the Pirates. And Oda even said in an interview last year that the story ends. The story ends once the One Piece is found, at least to an extent, because we do see in chapter 1060, Luffy's dream, Luffy kind of states that, hey, once I'm Pirate King, this should be possible. And that's something, like I've theorized for a long time now, is likely the final, last crazy hurrah party. The party that will span the entire globe where everyone is feasting. Everyone is feasting. But ultimately speaking, we can already kind of visualize Luffy's upward trajectory. It's just a matter of how do we get to the finish line? Are we gonna go this way on the right-hand side or the left-hand side? Blue pill or red pill? That's the question. And right now, only Oda and staff really know. However, the red pill is interesting considering a man with red hair is another major player for the final saga of One Piece. the Red Hair Pirates. Now, after Kid got one tapped,
You know what I'm saying? That's tough.
with Killer and company in that disgusting divine departure, I don't see Shanks and his men doing much until, let's say, they meet Blackbeard and, of course, in the future, Luffy. I would argue that not even like the Kid thing, but the fact that the Red Hair Pirates are affiliated with the giant pirates and they're under his wing, that is going to be a big deal for the government, because the giants have always been, even though folks rag on them, they have unequivocally been a big deal when it comes to military strength and might. Just like Wano country, other places do not want to mess with Elbaf, and part of the reason is because of what? The giant pirates. However, right now, as far as we know, Shanks is going to head over to the island that Bartolomeo was on in chapter 1054. That's what he stated. So even though he does have a lot of the Elbaf cats under his wing, he likely won't be in Elbaf by the time Luffy and company get there. He could be, but it'd be a bit weird for him to actually do so, because for him, Elbaf was a pit stop on the way to go and handle the whole Bartolomeo thing. But because of the introduction recently of Figureland Garling and how that ties directly to what we heard in the film Red movie, and how this relates to Uta, but it relates to Uta via Shanks. Right, so Shanks' ties to God Valley, his potential heritage to the Figureland family, all these things need to be unraveled in this final saga of One Piece. And I did a video in February in great detail talking about how I believe that Shanks ultimately is the guardian of Laugh Tale. I can see the hints and the themes there that Oda's put for Shanks to be the guardian of Laugh Tale. He's going to be the griffin that guards the treasure, ultimately speaking. And I absolutely, positively, without a doubt, need to see chapter 1 of One Piece fulfilled. I must see Luffy prove to Shanks directly that his crew has surpassed Shanks's crew and become king of the pirates. Now, as for, of course, Shanks dying, as many folks have theorized, this could be a thing that happens in the future of Blackbeard, and I've been leaning towards that in the past where he would die, but over the past, let's say 4 or 5 years, I'm kind of like, I'm more like 50-50. It is a very obvious play for Shanks to die to Blackbeard, but at the same time, is it the play that Oda actually is aiming for? There is a lot more evidence that would suggest that Oda has bigger plans for Shanks, since we found out in the Chronicles of Uta that Shanks has plans for this era.
NANI?
And Oda wrote that. So it would seem a bit interesting for Shanks to have these greater machinations and plans that Oda has planned for Shanks simply die to Blackbeard's hands and not even meet Luffy. No. I think that chapter 1 has to be fulfilled for damn sure. I'll say it here too, if there was any person I could see finding the One Piece treasure before Luffy, which again, I don't think Oda's going to do, but I think if there was one person, that one person would be Shanks. He was someone that was as close as possible to reaching Laugh Tale a long time ago, and in theory knew about the Gomu Gomu's true nature being the Hito Hito Nomi model Nika, and has been watching over Luffy like some sort of mother hawk this entire time in some respects. And I think what's also very important here is the words that Roger told Shanks after they returned from Laugh Tale. These words I think are going to be very important for understanding Shanks' standing and his reasons to why he didn't go after the treasure immediately and become the king of the pirates immediately, like what Buggy's flashback is insinuating in chapter 1082. And speaking of which, the third horse in the race is Buggy, allegedly Buggy D Clown, confirmed, not confirmed. Now, would he ever die in the story? Probably not. I'm gonna keep it a stack. He is that comic relief character. He is the Hercule. He is the Reagan Arataka. I don't see someone like him dying. Not necessarily impossible, but as close to impossible as possible. Buggy's role for the race, for the One Piece, I would think would just be him arriving at Laugh Tale, maybe recording, leaking footage from Laugh Tale, and kind of just sealing the deal right then and there. That's it. I do not see Buggy ever becoming king of the pirates, let's say before Luffy does. No.
Unacceptable!
I think there has to be a limit to his causality manipulation, and he cannot encroach upon protagonist territory. No. Buggy, I do not think be that guy. Absolutely not. However, I can see Buggy sitting somehow, some way on the empty throne. That's right. The very interesting thing about Buggy is that he has memed his way to be an emperor of the sea. And a lot of folks have theorized that somehow, some way, he will meme his way to sit on the empty throne, and the elders, the Gorosei, will bow down to Buggy. It has been a wet dream for Buggy stands for, I think, quite a bit of time. Is it impossible? No. But what is impossible, I think, is him being Pirate King before Luffy. I think the buck stops there with Buggy. What's more intriguing than Buggy here as a horse is the real steeds next to him, the true stallions here, Crocodile and Mihawk. Those guys should be a great indicator where the buck with Buggy stops. Crocodile is hard to pinpoint when it comes to standing in the final saga, since, as far as you know, he's trying to just create a utopia of some sorts. Some people think that he will have a thing with Sanji because Sanji did troll him hard as all hell in Little Garden and Alabasta. So Mr. Prince versus Crocodile will be a thing in the future, potentially, allegedly. The bigger play, I think, for Crocodile will involve the Revolutionary Army. This would, of course, lead somehow, some way to Buggy sitting on the empty throne. That madness could stem from a Crocodile Revolutionary Army bit, because we know Ivankov and Crocodile have something going on. It's going to be in this final saga in a few years' time. We're going to find out soon if Crocodile really is Luffy's mother. Woo, man. If that ever happens, it's going to be crazy. Like XX chromosome Law versus XX chromosome Crocodile. Oh, that's going to be a debate I would steer clear of. I'm going to just go over here in the corner. Don't mind me. Y'all do you. I have my number one XX. That's Robin. End of story. I need not look any further. But I know cats are going to go wild. But Crocodile may have some fun too with the Revolution Army, especially if their interests kind of align here, where if the idea of a utopia also involves the destruction of the world government, Crocodile may want to be in lockstep with the Rev, especially if the Rev make major plays for achieving the destruction of the world government in a roundabout way, achieving his utopia of some sort. So that I do see being Crocodile's main bit here. Mihawk. Mihawk is a man that, well, he wants simple things, and he wants peace and tranquility. However, him and Zoro must have their final fight in the next few years. No epilogue, none of that crap. Hell no. It happens in the story of One Piece. It goes down. But that could be, it is what it is, it could be much sooner than a lot of folks would realize. And I'm cool with that. I definitely am. The issue ultimately is when. Because when Mihawk does lose to Zoro, that should, in theory, cripple a lot of the clout that Buggy has amassed, since Mihawk is Buggy's underling. It is what it is. Though, of course, that doesn't necessarily matter if Buggy if Buggy sits on the empty throne and that footage leaks. Oh, if that footage leaks, that's spicy. But I think this could happen with Mihawk and Zoro before the final war of One Piece. Personally, I have envisioned Zoro being the world's greatest swordsman entering the final war of the series, especially if Luffy at that point in time would be the king of the pirates. Luffy would achieve one of the apexes of his dream, like literally king of the pirates. And Luffy's dreams matter the most out of any of the other Strat's dreams. Not only is it narratively the case, but also the Straw Hats themselves recognize that to be true. They're not Kid's crew. Oh, God forbid. No. If that's the case, then by default, or very likely, Buggy's role also ends as a high status caliber individual for the race of the treasure itself, retrospectively. But if the final war is before the One Piece treasure is found, then that does change things. Because now you can have Mihawk and Zoro fight on Laugh Tale, or at least the place closest to Laugh Tale. Thereby, Buggy could reach said place or reach Laugh Tale itself. So in a lot of ways, Mihawk's trajectory is an indicator, a bookmark, a stamp for where Buggy will ultimately end up in the future of the series. And of course, the last horse, the dark horse. Oh, it's always the dark horse that you have to have your eyes on the most. Mr. All Day, Every Day, 24/7, 365, Blackbeard. I think recently what's been like very important, low key but high key, is chapter 1080 bars. Very important. I got a video planned for the future diving deeper into this specifically, talking about this in much greater detail. But BB is positioning himself to be involved in the world government plays because his current ambition is to have Full Alert Island be a government affiliated nation. My glasses. Yo, this man has heavy moves going on. And right now, a lot of folks are not taking it seriously because of what? Because his bargaining chip sucks. Toby is his main play to try and make his whole pirate island a world government certified nation. However, people, who else is on this pirate nation? Oh God, Gulp Chew Joe. And if the bargaining chip is Gulp Chew Joe, then I would say absolutely it's a different ball game. And all Blackbeard has to do is just seize the ball. That's it. That's it. Blackbeard's play could ultimately, inevitably, lead him to also sit on the empty throne. And Emu could be second fiddle to Blackbeard for the endgame. We already know he had guys like Pinkbeard on the move in Paradise in the Grand Line, not in the New World, in Paradise, which is a very atypical, oh, you showed it there? Oh, it's a very atypical play for a Yonko to do. His ambitions are likely similar to that of Rock's, world domination sort of plays here. And if BB is able to gain power from the world government itself in a major way, then he could use that power. It could, let's say, come in the form in some military might, maybe even, let's say, in the form of 16 death rays falling down from the heavens. Oh, Zeha, whatever it is, he could use that power to try and get the One Piece treasure. And of course, given the timeline, that would mean that the final war will happen before the One Piece treasure is found. So you can see how, once again, final war, before, after. That is a big question. It's a repeat question. And I can see by getting some major bounty rise in the future, for sure. Plus, him and Shanks must have some sort of meeting. However, the real question is, will Luffy also be directly involved in that meeting? And of course, that meeting could literally be vying for the One Piece treasure itself on Laugh Tale. And if it is, let's say, after the final war is over, then Blackbeard could have potentially accumulated another major ability if Emu is also an ability user, and Emu has some busted stuff going on, because we know that he is somehow related to God Valley since he was around 2 years old and has some potential rock type of ambitions. Why? Is it possible that he knows something about God Valley, about potentially Emu? There is possibilities here with Mr. All Day Every Day. You can't sleep on him. Yes, Beppo in Sulong form did push him back. Doesn't matter. You cannot sleep on Blackbeard. And he could come in this three-way fight or a 1v1 fight against Luffy with an insanely busted arsenal, the likes of which we have never seen before in the series of One Piece. And only Luffy, who is a sun god, who is equally as busted, could match Mr. All Day Every Day. But it's Luffy, it's Blackbeard, it's Shanks. It is these three men that will ultimately be the greatest pirates in the One Piece series come the end of it all. So let me know your stance on the subject matter at hand. If you enjoy your boys' content, make sure to, of course, rate the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click on that bell to join the notification squad. I'm going to catch you cats on the flip side. Bye-bye.